Incredible. It's truly remarkable.
Well, it's hard to imagine any parent who wouldn't go to the ends of the earth to rescue an abducted child. But what happens when a rescue attempt goes horribly wrong?
A short time after CCTV caught this brazen operation to snatch two Australian children from the streets of Beirut, 60 Minutes reporter Tara Brown and her film crew, who were allegedly there to film it all, were detained by Lebanese authorities on suspicion of kidnapping. The two children are thought to be those of Aussie mum Sally Faulkner, who's been locked in a bitter international custody battle with her ex-husband Ali El Amin. When we spoke to Sally last December, she spoke of her regret at allowing him to take their kids to Lebanon for a holiday in May 2015.
Literally the day that he landed, he Skype called me and he said, "The kids aren't coming home." And it just seemed like he didn't even have any remorse either.
She also was adamant that she would get her kids back.
I'm going to keep fighting, and whatever that takes, I'll do it.
Every year, more than 250 children are abducted by a family member into or out of Australia. The majority of taken children are between 2 and 7 years of age. Less than half of them are recovered by authorities.
When someone's taken away from their loved ones, it can cause depression, it can cause lots of different issues like reactive attachment disorder, lots of separation anxiety and many other issues which are really of great concern.
In some extreme cases, anguished parents turn to international child recovery services, guns for hire, who plan and execute potentially dangerous operations to recover children from foreign countries.
The desperate needs for desperate parents, particularly from countries that are not signatories to the Hague Convention, like countries in the Middle East and a lot of countries in Asia.
Today, Lebanese media are reporting that Sally Faulkner has been detained and both children are back with their father. 60 Minutes hasn't commented on its involvement or allegations the program paid $120,000 for the botched recovery operation.
It's very disruptive to children to be suddenly taken from one parent's care to another. So just because one parent may have abducted doesn't mean that the other parent should abduct as well.
So is there a safe way for parents to recover children who have been abducted overseas?
Chapman is a child recovery specialist who has taken part in 109 recovery operations, and he joins us now. Cole, so exactly what do you do?
Recover children that have been taken overseas by parents in custody disputes. Sometimes in accordance with family court orders, other times they're in the process.
So is what you do, Cole, legal?
Yes, it is. Yes. The family court's well aware of what we've done. We've been written into family court orders, and family court's requested other government agencies liaise with us or deal with us in some way, yeah.
But is it always legal, or have you had a couple of cases that are sort of off the books, so to speak?
Yeah, we've had a few cases that are off the books, or, you know, they're in a grey area, but we certainly don't break any Australian laws, and we've always got recovery orders. So the child's coming back, you know, as ordered by the Australian court. So sometimes in countries in Asia, Middle East, you've got to bend a few rules, unfortunately.
So does that mean, in order to do this work, because it's international, it's not just Australian, you have to break foreign laws?
Yes, unfortunately, yes, that's right. But yeah, that's right.
So, Cole, take us through some of the laws that you might have to break to save a child.
Look, depending on the country, sometimes there may not be entry visas or exit visas, or sometimes it might be crossing a border, say from Cambodia into Thailand, escorting the left behind parent to the embassy. And sometimes in countries, say like Lebanon or Egypt, they've got to get out on the water and you know, head off to Cyprus or Greece. So, yeah, but they're not laws being broken where someone's getting hurt or someone's property's being stolen. It's getting a child out of the country in accordance with our, you know, our family court orders, or US or Norway, or we work for the central authorities all over the world.
And how much would it cost if I wanted you to get my kids back from a foreign country? How much is that costing me?
It depends. Say Asia, anywhere from 20 to 60,000. Middle East, anywhere from 80 to 160,000. North Africa, 80 to 120,000.
So why the discrepancy?
Some are south. They're harder. Getting a child out of somewhere like Algeria or Egypt or Lebanon is considerably harder than getting it out of Vietnam, Thailand, or some of those countries. Their border controls are stricter. Their authorities are a lot more diligent, and just the logistics involved as well.
If we look at the CCTV of the Beirut recovery, it looks pretty intense. I mean, do sometimes kids get affected and hurt when you're looking at that vision. I couldn't help but think, what happens when it goes the wrong way and the kids get harmed?
That was extreme, but that's their nature. That's how they operate. We're known for our passive recoveries. We use a lot more smoke and mirrors, a lot more clever. We'll try and do the recovery at Macca's, at the school, at the park. That type of recovery, never would have done that in such a public way and such an aggressive way either. I mean, tapping grandma on the head like that, throwing her around like a sack of potatoes, those guys just went off.
Cole, I can't help but looking at those toys behind you. When you are trying to obtain a child, like, do you distract them and try and entice them with toys?
Oh, very much so. It's comfort, something they're familiar with, something that relaxes them. They're surrounded by a lot of adults and you know, unfamiliar situations. It can be a little bit intense. You know, mum or dad is very nervous, very upset. So, yeah, whatever relaxes them, whatever's familiar. We try to encourage mum to wear same perfume, same clothes. Dad will wear something similar. But, yeah, quite often it's their favourite toys. Food, fruits, chocolates, treats, anything that relaxes them.
It's fascinating. Thanks so much for your time, Cole.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you.
It's remarkable stuff, and interesting about bending the rules as well. I mean, if you were a parent, I imagine you would be very happy for the rules to be bent if your child's been taken away from you.
I would do anything. If I could, I would pay anything to get my child back. I look at those parents and my heart breaks for them. Of course you would do anything.
Yeah.
Would you be prepared to break the law to do it?
Absolutely, to get my child back.
I thought it was really interesting he was prepared to admit that. It's
He's
a
an
fairly
interesting-
significant thing to...
He's an interesting chap, but his background is that he says his brothers were abducted.
Yeah.
And so he has experience as being a family member and living through that. So he's an interesting guy. He's the most honest person I've seen on television, I think, in a long time.
Oh, well, thanks,
Apart from
mate.
you,
Thank
mate.
you.
Apart from you.
The other thing is, a friend of mine went through this. He did it all 100% by the book, and Interpol ended up getting involved.
Wow.
But it was a 2-year process and just unbelievably stressful. Everyone's fine now, but very, very stressful process.
But you know what's tricky about this, right? It's easy for us to think about it in the context of someone whose kid's been taken away from them and they want to get... But a lot of people who take their kids and go overseas are actually like fleeing mothers.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So they're mothers in situations where they've got like an abusive partner or something and they want to save their kids from that.
That's
and they
it.
just take the kid and nick off. Now, that's technically illegal.
It's really hard to get into someone else's family and figure out who's a bad guy, isn't it?
Right, but so my question is, like, people like... I'm not saying that about Cole specifically,
Yeah.
but if there are people offering those services,
Yeah.
I imagine it's not just...
Well, the services would be there for the bad guys too.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens at that point?
Well, the sad thing is the kids are the ones that get affected through all
That's
this.
absolutely right. Yeah.